Welcome learners. In this session, we're going to cover the error handling part of GPS, mainly two scenarios. First, where your user is denying the permission for the location. Secondly, wherein the GPS is not on. In that case, what should be the entire UI, how we should be doing the error handling, and what goes behind the future error scenarios we're going to talk about in very much detail. Stay tuned. Let's talk about the blueprint for the current session. Now, do you remember our future builder, wherein we were understanding on video recording that the video player was initialized. In fact, over there I did something called as waiting. That is the connection state wherein the video player is initialized, but the video player has got a huge file, so the initialization can take some time. What do? Show a loading symbol until the player is initialized. In the same scenario, wherein we will be having this future builder now to display our error. Whatever is the error, we'll try to have one custom page which talks about that particular error to show to our user. In order to do this, what I'm going to do is head over to flaticon.com. This is my favorite website. That's because I get to have a lot of options for my icons. Over Flaticons, I can get a lot of options for icons. Let me pick this particular icon and then click on the PNG version and free download. So here's my no GPS PNG icon. So I'll cut this. Now inside my Hoping Minds tutorial directory, that's the topmost directory, I'm going to create a new directory as assets. In fact, inside this I'll have a subdirectory as images, and then over here I'll paste the no_gps.png which I just downloaded from Flaticons. This assets directory is not part of the original app structure. This directory is something which we created, hence needs to be declared in the pubsec.yaml file. If you slightly scroll down, you will see one particular section where our Flutter plugin is already been talking about that we should be declaring our assets here. So let me put the assets over here. I'll mention the directory that we have added as assets/images. Now I'll click on pubget and then try to kill my app. Well, this directory was not been there and just been put now, hence next time when I run my app, it's going to add these assets into the internal folder structure, and then I can access this no GPS. Let's try understanding this with the help of our permission utils only. Now, what I'm going to try and do, make this as a global level variable. Do you remember this center widget and this entire error handling part? So let me for now delete this test code and replace with something called as a future builder. This is going to be the second implementation for my future builder, wherein depending upon whether the permission was allowed or whether the GPS is on, here we are going to try handling all the scenarios that can happen into my app. In fact, over here I'm going to put the builder, build context, and then my async snapshot, but this time it will have a callback. What's going to be the callback? Let's understand this future function. Do you notice position over here? And do you remember in the last session we were putting the latitude and longitude onto the console? That's exactly going to be the callback I'll put over here. I'm going to name the variable as snapshot. That's because if the snapshot connection state is waiting, then I'll put a loading symbol on the UI. So this basically signifies that the loading animation shall be displayed. Else, over here is the key part. Let's say if the snapshot is resolved and we are getting an error. In that case, I can put snapshot has error and else snapshot has data. Let's say because we are going to return error from here, we are going to jump into this return scenario wherein at the center of the screen I'll put a text, whatever is the error, I'm going to use the snapshot error and then display on the text widget. This else, for now, let it return an empty container. Next, I'm going to try and do a hot reload. Now, when I try to run my show GPS location app, it says error and location services are disabled. This word location services are disabled is exactly what we're getting from the plugin. Hence, what do you understand is the snapshot showing an error. In fact, let's try and customize this. What I'm going to try and do is on the device, I'll try to put one widget, something of this sort. Over here, I'll share the marker that the GPS is off and then try to explain the user the error over here, like error location service is disabled. Now just notice this UI. I have a rounded container. Hence, let me put a container with a height of 250. I'll put the child as this text and then over here inside a column, first I'm going to load the asset image, assets slash images slash GPS, no gps.png. Next, on the main axis, I'll try to align to the center. Let me do one round of hot reload and you can see that over here it shows a very huge GPS icon. Let me try to restrict my height for the icon to be 200 or even shorter as 150 and width as 150. This looks kind of clean, and then in the decoration I can try and play around to show a border radius with 20 and then my color as colors dot teal, or in fact I can try to use some light colors like a purple with opacity as 0.4. Now when I do a hot reload, you notice that it has been wrapped in a container which has got a purple background. Now this has got 40% color into it, but do you notice the contents are sticking to the container? Hence I can put a padding on all the sides for 10 pixels. Hence now no longer it's sticking on the edges, and in fact now I can slightly increase the text size along with my font size to 20. Well, that kind of looks decent. In this way, what we are trying to understand is the snapshot error is trying to load this widget, wherein we are trying to say that this is possibly the error that the user is getting. Let me uninstall the app and then go ahead and install it. In this case, what I want to show to you is if I deny the permission forever, we can still use the same exact widget and try to show an error on the user. Now I'll click on show GPS location and it says error, location services are disabled. Let me go ahead and turn on the GPS. Next, when I try to do a hot restart, let's try and see if now my future builder is going to show to me the GPS pop-up. Well, do you notice my future builder is actually waiting for me to give a verdict, and this time I'm going to give a bit brutal verdict of not allowing my permission. It says location permissions are denied. Let's restart the app. So it's going to be again asking me the permission, and again I'm going to deny. Don't allow. And this time, do you notice that overflow? Well, we don't like it. In this case, what has happened, when you head over to the permission utils and try to display this long message, it kind of gets abrupt and it's kind of exceeding the height of the container. Well, what I'm going to show to you is in this scenario, One, we will try to use an expanded widget. What do you notice? The error now is displayed and it's tried to display with the limits of the container height. That's exactly my point for teaching you expanded, wherein if at all a text is overflowing, you can wrap it in an expanded and then make it fix onto the container size. But it is denying our objective, wherein it's kind of squeezing or it's kind of touching the edges. What I'm going to next do is put the margin attribute, which will be helping me out to add a spacing onto my app. Now I can try and play around by adjusting the padding to even more so that the UI bit becomes decent. And what I notice is the last line being cut out. That's because it's falling short of my height. Let me try increasing the height to 300 pixels and have the entire location error to be getting displayed. You can play around with this UI in endless combination ways. You can try to center a line. You can shout at the user by making it deep red. Whatever you want, just try and put your customization at this aspect. With this, we come to a conclusion for the present session. Error handling is like going through a bad weather. You have to show the user the pain points that the app is experiencing so that he can resolve. And that's exactly what we have discussed in our present session. In the next session, I'm going to show that once you are through with the bad weather, you can actually take the user's live location and plot it on Google Map. We're going to discuss about how you can create a Google Map key and then integrate Google Map into your app. What is that? For that, you need to stay tuned and keep learning with Hoping Minds.